why Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma became a religion known as Hinduism that has picked up a number of unwanted ideas, that entered into the domain of Hindu religion, and that has caused the beautiful Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma decline to a state of religion. Otherwise, Dharma is a set of universal principles that are acceptable and convincing to every intelligent, open-minded person. So here again, in the last few weeks, we have added two factors each. In the same manner, today we want to add two more factors that are slightly interconnected. First is Ishvara is infinite and void of body frame, but people begin to think that he appears on the earth as humans and other forms, what is broadly called as Avatarvaad, which is very peculiar. No other religion has such things, but Hinduism somehow picked it up. What probably was the reason? Maybe one possible reason I can offer is that there was something like let's see, I'm trying to open up a particular slide. Yeah. This is one possible explanation. In the recent history, by Indian timeline, last 4,000-5,000 years are, Middle Ages, and last 6,000 years is our period of decline. And that period of decline has finally led to Satyasanathan Hindu Dharma, Vedic Dharma become a religion now. So, in the context of, I will say, last 1,000 years or so, when Hindus in India were confronted with outside religions, they were firstly we met Muslim invaders, then came Christian invaders. So they brought certain concepts. Let's look at Christianity, that is about 2,000 years. That God, as if somewhere up in the sky, and for good of the world, he sends his only son. So that was a concept brought in by Christianity. And Islam brought a concept that Allah, again, sitting somewhere up in the sky, and has been periodically sending messengers. They almost give a number like 124,000 messengers, a very large number. And then they suddenly, the Allah had an idea that now he should send the last messenger. That's why in Islam, they are very proud of their messenger, namely Muhammad, and his message of Quran. What they say is, he's the last messenger. There will be no more afterwards. And as if the last message is very important, and nobody knows why Allah should revise his messages one after another messenger. But these are the concepts, so called the only son and the last messenger. And by that time, probably Hindu Dharma was very weak. So, anyway, they found their own way to respond to these two religions. They thought they are coming up with a brilliant idea in saying that in Hindu religion, God comes by himself. So, such as Ram and Krishna and So this is I'm offering a possible reason that Hinduism was misunderstood to such an extent that we had to take a course to such ideas. Of course, it may sound quite victorious in context of the sectarian religions, that here God is sending his only son and messenger, but in Hindu, this is Hindu religion, he comes by himself. So as if a Hindu is trying to tell others that ours is a better religion. But when you make Ishvara, you know, equal to some human being, then you have greatly degraded him. So that doesn't make sense really. Let's see, I want to show you another, this is Yajurved 40th chapter, very well known mantra, number 8. Sapayagat Shukramakayam Avarnam Asnavayam Shuddham Apapaviddham. So this is just listing Sa is for he, that supreme being, and is listing all his characteristics. One of them is Akayam. Kaya is, the material body frame. So this is very clearly mentioned. Akayam, he is not in a body frame. After all, he is all pervading. He must, that's what is Om Kam Vem. So very last ending of the Yajurved's 40th chapter is with which is very important. Om Kam Vem. So his name is Om, and Ka means he is most subtle. He is all pervading. He can enter into any space. Actually, he is also maker of the space. And Vem is he is great in all aspects. So this was the nature and characteristics of that Ishwar, and it is wrong to say that he can come in a finite body frame and appear on the earth. He doesn't have to do that, and he cannot do that, and he will never violate his own principles. So there is a related question. Nirvikar. Nayakara means no shape and form. Nirvikara means no deformity, no abnormality, so to say. Okay, the related second aspect we are saying is Ram and Krishna were inspiration and heroes, but were elevated to false godhood that they don't inspire common people. So this is also a related issue. Ram and Krishna were two historical, heroes in our Indian culture, and let's look at them here. Yeah, this is something I discussed with some children in Sunday school also. I asked them a question. If you were to speak to some school children and deliver some sort of a motivational talk to motivate them to grow and develop to become a great human being, and you have a choice to talk either about Einstein or about Abraham Lincoln, who would you choose to share your ideas of in the motivational talk? The reason I gave this question is, that same thing is in the Indian history. We have hundreds and thousands of great scholars, rishis, Patanjali, Kanad, there is a whole long list of rishis who have done the pioneering work. Then the question arises, when it comes to our history, why we say our two great heroes are Ram and Krishna. Why not Patanjali, Kapil, and Kanad, and Yask and Panini? They are. I also have a list of about 200 rishis. It's very easy to make them. So, out of hundreds and thousands of that whole tradition, why do we go for these two persons, Ram and Krishna? That answer lies here. If I were to speak in a high school children and tell them that you all can become great, will I choose Einstein or will I choose Abraham Lincoln? Obviously, I will choose Lincoln. Why? Because if I choose Einstein, then number of students may not relate, children may not relate. How is it relevant to him? Not that all want to be physicists. Somebody may say, I just want to be in business. I want to be a sports person, basketball player, or I want to be a TV anchor person, or I want to be a Hollywood artist. Then he cannot relate how the life of Einstein really helps him, motivates him. But if I speak on Lincoln, then he has all the attributes that any child can find. Yes, it makes sense. Whatever I want to become, I need hard work, I need honesty, I need straightforwardness. These are basic common human values and virtues that can inspire every human being. So it's not that this person is greater than that or Einstein is greater than that. It is, you want to present a historical character, a real character that can inspire the masses, the children. So in the same spirit, rather than choosing Patanjali, Kanad, or Gautam and all those hundreds and thousands of rishis, the our tradition is we have chosen Ram and Krishna. Not that they are greater than Patanjali, etc. Just because they led a life where they were able to navigate through the day-to-day issues that every human being is going to confronted with, and without violating the basic principles of dharma. So that is the reason why Ram and Krishna are important in our history. But then when you make them larger than size, like in Valmiki Ramayana, Ram is a very standard figure for to gain inspiration from for all of us. He is projected because Valmiki was contemporary with Ram, so he's writing the Ram's story, thinking that this will inspire future generations, which he was right. But he's portraying it in a very straightforward manner that he is a prince, the son of Dashrath, and he goes through all kinds of turbulence in his life, but he is able to navigate it properly. That's why he's called as Mayada Purushottam, Dharm ka Mood Roop, terms like that. Because if you if you see his story, you know that he never violated anything, any human values or virtues. And that's what common man looks forward to. That inspires anybody that, yes, I can also be like him. Why not? Same thing applies to Krishna. But after Valmiki, there have been hundreds and thousands of Ramayana. Everybody, because that has inspired the whole world. But I am talking specifically in the recent phase, which is about 16th century. Tulsidas, he writes in Hindi, Ramcharitmanas, but he has made him as Bhagwan Ram, Prabhu Ram. Bhagwan is not a wrong term. Bhagwan, like Dayananda writes, Bhagwan Patanjali, or even in Valmiki Ramayana, Bhagwan Vishwamitra, Bhagwan Vashishta, etc. Bhagwan is basically a term, somebody is a great soul. But in that spirit, Bhagwan Ram is not a wrong way to describe him, but a common man takes him as if he is the incarnation of Ishvara, and that is what Goswami Tulsidas has attempted to do it. So this has become a larger than size figure, and then he is no more an inspiration. You know, you have done more disservice to Ram than any service to the humanity or anybody. You know, the historical account must be factual, and you cannot exaggerate things like that. So these are some of the factors that has led to the decline, and we have to be watchful and try to weed them out so that we can go back to the golden glorious period of Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma. I have another question, which is question is there a birth after moksha, and why and how? What is the? It's a quite an academic question, but it, of course, that's the human mind. We are always inquisitive, want to know about all sorts of things. So moksha is a term for mukti, for upward, and what is called param purusharth, etc. So that is liberation, Cavalli also. So what it means is we are in bondage as of now. Not only that I am in the body, but the bondage is actually when I have been tied to that envelope of mind. That is the bondage. And within the mind, the closest entity is, which is a unit of my mind, is called buddhi, and that is called as if somebody has tied a knot there. So that is called as hridaya, and then the objective of human life is to open it out and disconnect from mind, buddhi in particular, and then I am a free bird, and so that is moksha. So once the moksha is there, then it is an idea which Maharishi Dayanand has very forcefully articulated, that moksha is an absolutely state, when we are untouched by any pain and suffering, atyant niveti, atyant purushat, what is called, and yet it is of, it's a very, very large time duration, but nevertheless it is not infinite time duration. So it comes out to several Brahmadin and all that. And one Brahmadin is 4.32 billion years. So it's many trillions years, uh, that sort of a parameter. But then, nevertheless, we come back from that. So that's what this question pertains to. So how does it, if somebody is free, then how does he get enveloped again? What is, why should it happen? What is the real cause of it? And what is the mechanics of it? Something like that. Of course, nobody will have exact answer to this question. And let me look at it, what I have, because this came to me a few days ago. So I have tried to look at some of the possible answers in our literature. So let me show you. Uh, let's see, where do I start from? I think, yeah, you can take it from Yoga Darshan, because I have been more I've been more involved in Sankhya and Yoga. So here it is. So Patanjali Yoga Darshan, second chapter, excuse me, it's called Sadhanpad, and it says, let's see, I'm going down the second chapter slightly here. Yeah, it is second point 17. Second point 17, from 16 on, This is a new section. I will quickly say this much is about Klesh up to, and number 9 ends with Abhinivesh. Number 10 is saying they disappear by going back where they came from. And number 11 is saying while they persist, it is advisable to do meditation, dhyan, so that their vettis are, diminished slightly. And then 12, 13, 14, and 15 are law of karma. And the purpose here is to show that the so-called sukh, you know, so-called sukh is also dukh, which is related to 2.5. 2.5 is saying what is avidya. So to treat dukh as sukh is avidya. So that part is being proved here from 12, 13, 14, 15. And in 15 he is saying those who are viveki, who are wise people, who have attained vivekhyati, they will say that all so-called everything, because all that is nothing but chittavetti. So chittavetti is gunavetti, and they are nothing but dukkha. And then 16 onward, 16 onward up to about, I will say, 25 or 26, yeah, up to 26, where he says vivekhyati aviplaya hanopai. 16 to 26, this is called as Chaturvihu strategy, that is adopted in Ayurveda. Ayurveda, the four terms are He, Hetu, Han, and Hanopai. So He is what is to be discarded, that is the disease, and He, Hetu, what was the cause of the disease? Maybe I ate something wrong or something. Then Han is I want the health and wellness, and Hanopai, what is the method to gain the. So here he is adopting the same Chaturvyu, where he is Dukham, Dukh. He has described everything is Dukh here. Now he says Anagatam, etc. We won't go into specific nature of all these statements. I want to look at 17th. So he's saying, what is the cause of all this? So he's saying, cause of dukh, pain and misery is drishtya drishtyayo sanyogo he hetu. What it means is, the observer, the purush, me, the consciousness, and the buddhi that I am always watching, they have been sanyogis, they have been tied together. So some force, of course, the superior force of Ishvara has tied them together, isn't it? And that is what is the cause of all my misery. So here comes the, okay, anyway, this blue color, no problem. So this to this sanyogo he. Now, this me and my mind, I have been tied together. That actually is bondage. Now this sanyog, yeah, in this statement, 23rd, he's saying why this sanyog is there. Somebody has tied me together, of course, that Ishwar, and the purpose of that is Swarup Uplabdhi Hetu. So Swa is Swa Swami Shaktyo. I have certain powers, and my buddhi has certain powers, and I use those powers to know Swarup, my inherent nature, Uplabdhi Hetu. So, I have been tied up together with buddhi so that I get to know myself and my buddhi. That is what is the meaning of 23rd. So, the purpose of Sanyog has been described here. Now, why is this Sanyog? Now, this is described in 24th. that is caused, tasya hetu is avidya. So that is the answer to this question, that when my time period of moksha is getting over, then avidya is the cause that I am brought back into the bondage. Now, of course, somebody may ask, where does this avidya come into picture? Because I was supposed to be in moksha. If I am in moksha, how can I be inflicted with avidya? Is it not? So, that's why these are very tricky questions what we are asking. And rishis are uh, not, they are almost admitting that it is foolish to go into this inquiry, you know, because they have a view. For example, let me say, we have, as the world looks like today, we live in this world, and the support for the earth is the sun. And sun is continuously, non-stop emitting light. It has been billions of years and for further few billions of years. But we know it, and scientists also tell us that even the sun will disintegrate and will stop, emitting this kind of a light. So there is always a limit to anything. So I am talking now in terms of light and darkness. So there is a darkness. If somebody asks, what is the cause of darkness? There is no cause of darkness. Darkness is basically absence of light. And if there is a light, light is definitely has a cause. If light is there, then darkness disappears. So look at avidya as darkness, and whatever is opposite, vivekhyati, is the light. That's the enlightenment we are seeking through the mechanism of Patanjali Yoga, sadhana, upasana, and all that. Now, the point I am trying to make is, if you look at avidya as darkness, there is no reason, it doesn't make sense to ask what is the cause of darkness. You know, darkness just is there. you know. So look at moksha as somebody got enlightened. So, darkness was there, but he got enlightened. That is his moksha. But whatever is the mode of enlightenment, or whatever is the light source, that will always be having some time duration, is it not? And once, so take any light, even the sun or even man-made light. Our lights have lifetime of, say, days and years, but sun has lifetime of billions of years. And here we are talking the light of Vivek Khyati, that dharmic samadhi, that causes kaivalya. Let's have that light has the lifetime of billions of years or trillions of years. It has to have some lifetime. Because, the light has to have lifetime. Darkness has no lifetime. And darkness has no cause. So once the lifetime of that light is over, it is again darkness, is it not? So look at avidya as this, and to support this thing, I am going to show you a few more statements, because this is a very tricky business and it's not easy. Even rishis have indicated something of this order. So now I am showing you, this is yoga. I was showing you, first I showed you 2.17, this the bondage, the nature of bondage. Now I am showing you the Vyas commentary on 2.17. It's a 2.17, you can read here, and Vyas commentary is quite long here, but I just want to look at my cursor. Tayor, dig darshan shaktyor, anadi. Look at the word anadi. Anadi means there is no adi, no starting point. So such things for which a rishi cannot give you the reason why, how it started off. They use a word anadi, So Sanyog is anadi, is it not? I will also show you in Sankhya. So in Sankhya, second chapter, it begins with why the Pradhan is the primordial matter, Prakriti. Prakriti in its very basic stage is called Pradhan. So the second chapter begins with what is the purpose of this Prakriti, Pradhan? So purpose is Vimukt Mokshatham Swatham Va. Va means either this or that. So for those who are enlightened people, they can gain moksha. And those who want to sansayic people, Prakriti gives them bhog, bhog and apvarg both. So this is those who seek bhog, Prakriti does it. And those who seek apvarg, moksha, Prakriti helps them also by way of their buddhi. Then he says, Vyaktasya tat siddhe. One who has vairagya, he obtains that. Then he says, why I am writing all this book? Because these things are already stated. So he says, na shravan matyat tat siddhi. Moksha is not attained just by listening to that Purush and Prakriti are different, is it not? Everybody knows by word, Purush is Chaitanya, Prakriti is Jad, they are different, but I don't get moksha by just knowing it. So just hearing these ideas does not bring the tat siddhi, does not bring the moksha, because now he says what? Anadi vasnaya balvat balvatvat, So why? Because vasna, which is a klesh, avidya is also klesh that you already know it, and is in yoga second chapter. We can second point I will say. Let me see. Second point 3. Avidya asmita rag dvesh avinivesha klesha. So klesh is what is also called as vasna, and avidya is also klesh, and avidya is a pradhan klesh in the sense that only gives rise to others. But nature of vasna is interesting. Anadi. Anadi, he says, you cannot ask me the cause of it because there is no cause of it. Anadi. So anadi by definition is without adi. Nobody can give its cause. So that is what the rishis are saying. Whether you take a Yog Darshan and its commentary by Sankhya, and or you take it the Sankhya itself, and it is interesting. As you know, Sankhya begins with, atati with dukha, atyant niveti, atyant purushartha. So this is what is to gain moksha, atyant purushartha, and to get rid of all kinds of, three kinds of pain and suffering, atyant niveti. So this is his starting statement, and this goes up to the end, and towards the end he is making a few statements which are interesting. What he's saying is, uh, you know, 68 is this, 69 is this. So he has taken an approach that avivek is the cause of bondage, and you have to generate that light. What is Patanjali is calling avidya, Kapil is calling avivek. And then he says, if you get enlightenment, so namely vivek khyati, then avivek disappears and you are again in moksha. But having attained vivek, uh, as I said, it takes effort to make a source of light. So if you see light and vivek as synonym, we are all trying to generate that light of vivek within ourselves. That will take many lifetimes. But once we have done it, that will have a limited lifetime. And when that light is gone, again it is darkness. Again it is avivek, is it not? Again it is avidya. and avidya is the cause of sanyog. So that is one way to look at it. But by coming at the end, he is again raising this issue. Try to understand. Kapil is very high authority, Paramaharshi, he is a very, very great authority. There is nobody equal to Kapil, though we don't want to compare anybody, but Kapil is very high authority. Now, what Kapil is saying is, avivek is the nimitta, is the cause of this bondage. That has also been stated by a person named Panchashikha. Okay. Now he quotes another person, and Sanandanacharya. What is he saying? Lingashaye nimittak iti. So he is saying there are difference in views, you know. So Kapil is himself saying that why the bondage is there. He's saying there are multiple views. There is not a single view, you know. Then Sanandanacharya is saying what? Lingashaye nimittak. Because this ling is the buddhi, etc. So sukshma shaye. So because that is there. Now it is just a matter of combining it. So as if that always exists. So in other words, in the view of Sanandanacharya, even though I am in bondage, my mind is still with me, though it is not bonded, but I still, it is readily with me, though I am not bonded to it. And once the bondage is there, it's nothing but tying the knot. And so he's saying the tying in the knot is just a formal thing. Otherwise, this is always with me. Then Kapil answered saying, Yadva tadva. Maybe it is this, maybe it is that. Whatever is the reason, then he is emphasizing the, the prescription that I have given you is there is no ambiguity about that. Whatever be the cause of bondage, taduchitti, that will be discarded, So Purushartha, now he is saying the updesh that I have given to you, that will take care of Vivek Khyati, and you will gain the Dukha Atyanta Nivritti, the Moksha state, whatever be the cause of bondage, which I am. So he's also not saying what is the cause of bondage. Maybe this or that, or karma also. Karma nimitta pakete swaswami bhavopi. Whatever is it, he says that is it. So, even in the we are very small people, but even in the great rishis, they they were not very specific why we come again in the bondage from after the moksha, and what is the cause of it. So I have tried to explain it from that through the analogy of light and darkness, and uh, you know this, and in any case, this is a academic question, really, But sure, we don't want to discourage. Human mind is inquisitive, and we appreciate it. And everybody should ask all these questions, difficult questions. But so I have offered what one possible answer could be. But there is a comment here. Let me read it. Yeah, this is a question. Maybe I will take it up next time probably. Oh, there is a time. Yes, 15 minutes are there. So the question is, an overview of different darshanas and Shankaracharya Advait philosophy and Vedanta. So yeah, it's a okay. We have some 15 minutes. I think you know. Uh, I have a way to look at all these things, though I'm not an expert of Indian ancient history, but I will offer what is my way of thinking. So, of course, the humanity appears on the earth with the and has Vedas in its mind. That is our starting point. So first, I think we have to be very clear that uh, India, that our view is, because today's mainstream is obsessed with the idea of evolutionary history, but our view is very different. In their view, first human being was a hunter-gatherer and so on and so forth, and he learned with the passage of time from animals, from surroundings, or whatever it is, and then he today, and also there is a evolutionist concept that the so-called origin of species in a particular manner. So we, the Homo sapiens, have not appeared on the earth as we are today, but our ancestors were, they call it Neanderthals. They say he appeared in East Africa, Horn of Africa, and then about 300,000 years ago. That's their timeline. Some of them became Homo sapiens, and then they migrated to all parts of the world. This is their view. Now, as opposed to their view, ours is that we will not go in that detail, that is they called amathonicistic, that we somehow appeared as human beings, more or less the way I am. Of course, some marginal differences, and as you grown up adults, so to say. And then some of them, maybe, I don't know, they may be 100 or few thousand or whatever it is, but four of them were, it was somehow embedded in their mind, or what we call as Sampajnat Yoga. The words that contain, it's not the book in the book form on paper, but those words were in their mind. And they began to recite Agnimide Purohitam Yajyaside, such four Vedas, what we call them. And not only they began to recite, they that is the way they got their vocal cord excited, and also they were able to, they knew the meaning contained within it, you know, and that's how they were dealing in their day-to-day life, through this message. Now, that being the case, we will say they were very, very superior human being, at least I will say, compared to us, they were with a 100 or 1,000 times more memory wise, They could have all the Vedas in their mind. Today, as we have progressed, now we don't even know more than two or three phone numbers because we rely on our phone, is it not? So our memory is becoming very, very less utilized. And when you utilize it less, its capacity is also less. But they were having very fantastic memory. And, uh, and they were leading a life as in the message of the Vedas. So as I said, it is a devolutionary history. So I'm sure it must have happened for several millions of years. Because when the things are good, the rate of decline is also very, very slow, So gradient at the rate we are degrading is very fast now. But imagine very, very slow rate of decline because the overall quality is very high. So if your quality is high, your next generation will also preserve more or less that kind, of course, with slight decline. Okay. So I will say after some thousands, millions of years, there comes a change now. Now the human population, a significant part, and there is a large part, they are still preserving the traits and characteristics of the Vedic age. Now comes the Upanishadic age, where the other part are not that conversant with the Vedas as full. Now they say that, or there is a demand that we want the gist of the Vedas because we cannot comprehend the whole Vedas in our mind as such. But there are people who are still in the of the Vedic age, but they create the literature, and this literature is, I will say, Upanishads. Now this is Upanishadic age, where again the things are same as qualitatively they are also following Vedic way of life, but then they are quantitatively now they are slightly handicapped. So they want gist of the Vedas, and then rishis who are very conversant with the Vedas, they produce what we will call as Upanishads. Now, again, there is further decline, must be of the order of, I will say, million years. And now there are people who are now beginning to experiment with non-Vedic way of life. So that is like a Vedic way of life is a very balanced life where your Abhyuda and Nishayas both are adopted. Material science and spiritual science both have value, and they know it that this apaya vidya, the material science is means and objective is the paya vidya. So what he mentioned is avidya metyum titva vidya metyu ametam ashnute. So I want the adequate knowledge of material science so that I can survive through my lifetime. But objective of my lifetime is get to know him. Veda ametam purusham mantam aditya. So that was always the Vedic message. But now in the third age, that we'll call as age of Shad six books of Vedic philosophy. That is now third age after Vedic and Upanishadic age, where people were deviating from Vedic way of life, and there was some sort of overemphasis of materialistic life. Now the first rishi, that is the importance of Kapil. He is the first one in this series who tries to warn the others in his society that look, this is not the right thing. You must follow Vedic way of life because in any other way of life, you will be, you cannot get away from pain and suffering, however smart you are. So he writes Sankhya. Now, Sankhya, this is a total departure from Vedic and Upanishadic style now. Now, this is a Sutra Shali. They were in mantras because now the memory is still less. So they have to give short formulations. And also, there is another departure. In Vedas and Upanishads, this is clearly the statement of the truth. But now here, argumentative. This is very important because now begins you have to, Kapil is arguing with the so-called Purva Paksha. There is a Purva Paksha and Uttar Paksha. So he is arguing with the Purva Paksha, look, this is not right what you are thinking or what you are doing. And he is trying to prove that you are wrong, this is right, the Vedic. So darshan, there is a departure. First is the literary style is different. This is Sutra Shali, not in mantras. And in Sutra there is no verb. That's why it becomes difficult to interpret nowadays because, there are a lot of complexities in interpreting Sankhya and Yoga Darshan, etc. It requires a great deal of training and Ishwar Kripa, so to say, because the verb is not there, and there are many other problems. I cannot go in those details. It is difficult even to know what is Purva Paksh and when is he switching to Uttar Paksh, and things like that. Like in yoga, I was trying to show you these are section, this is section. So it's difficult to find the format of the author, what format he is following, and to get a feel of that. Okay, now I think it's a very lengthy topic as such. Now, Sankhya and Yoga, the difference is, maybe on some occasions I have told you, there are three kinds of people in the world basically. So, this is a superior quality and average and below average. So, let's look at it. So, in above average, there is another bifurcation, and that you will understand from the structure of Yoga Darshan. Yoga Darshan, the first chapter is for superior people. Then Kriya Yoga, the second chapter, is for intermediate average people. And then Ashtanga Yoga is for below average people. You know. Now, if you look at the Yoga Darshan, the Samadhi path, first chapter, then where the Ishwar Pranidhan begins, that is about 1 point, Ishwar Pranidhanadva, that is 1.23. So that section goes from 1.23 to 1.29. Now the interesting part is Ishwar Pranidhanad Va. Va means it is optional, So in first chapter, where it is for superior people, even there are two sections. One who is willing to adopt Ishwar Pranidhan in his scheme, and one who is not willing. So these are two options he is giving. Now that should be borne in mind that in Kapil's time, they are all are mostly superior people. By today's standard, they are all this, but still there are these two branches. One who is comfortable with Ishwar Pranidhan, one who is not. Now one who is so I will say Sankhya is giving the message, arguing it out that worldly materialistic life is not good, and that will not solve your getting away from pain and suffering, and you must go for yoga chitta vritti nirodha, isn't it? And that is what is his message for. But a bulk of it is he is trying to prove that sukh and dukh is nothing but the mental perturbations. So there is a lot of philosophy about mind and how mind functions and how you are different from mind, and that is what the inquiry is all about. So Yoga Darshan doesn't go in those details because Yoga Darshan is an offshoot of Sankhya basically. Now, since your question basically pertains to over, I think I am exceeding the time frame, you know. So I have just come to, maybe I will need one more. I will take it up next Monday as part two of the question. So today I have given you a brief overview about three bodies of literature, and there I should mention one more body, very important body, that is called as Vedang. So Vedang is something the rishis are writing right from the day one for the future generations to connect to the Vedas. So that is ongoing, like grammar and etymology, niyukta, chand and jyotish, etc., etc. So as to future generations should, if they were, they knew it, like we are too far away from the Vedas, but I cannot open the Vedas and read it. I need to go through the Vedanga as such, is it not? But they did not need in their time, they didn't need Vedanga. And, that also probably I will explain sometime later why they didn't need Vedanga, because the language of Ved was very much like their mother tongue. You don't need a formal grammar book to know your own mother tongue. So we are now far disconnect from it. So today I have given you basically four bodies of literature. They are very huge, you know, very, very huge bodies. Now in each discipline there are hundreds of books. So we are very rich in those literatures, though a bulk of it has been burnt and destroyed. So today we have talked Vedas, Upanishad second layer, third layer Shad Darshan, overall why it had to come there, and then next time I will tell you why at the end of Sankhya there was a need to write Yoga Darshan, why there was a need to write Nyaya Darshan, and then Vaisheshik, and then Mimamsa and Vedanta. And then I will maybe hopefully, by the time Mimamsa and Vedanta is about 6,000 years old, and that's where the decline begins. Indian cultures or Satya Sanatan Vedic Dharma. And then we come into Mahabharata period. And then in last 5,000 years, what is the role of Shankar and Dayanand, and who did what, and then touch upon Vedanta, etc. Maybe I will need about 20 minutes more. then next Monday I'll do that. Thank you very much. We had very interesting questions and discussions. We'll meet again a week later. Have a good time.
Okay. Namaste.